Hi everybody, as promised, I just wanted to make a video to talk you through the proposal, which you know is a compulsory part of your investigation. So I'm just going to be going through the same document that we've used in class, but obviously trying to elaborate where I can. So the point of the proposal in the real world is to propose or outline what you intend to do for your research, and you then give that to your supervisor. This is obviously in a university setting. You give it to your supervisor and they either approve or deny your research based on that proposal. So it's before you've done anything and it's really outlining what you intend to do. So obviously that isn't the case in a year 12 situation, but we're trying to simulate what this might be like when you eventually write one. So the main point here is that it needs to be really clear and it needs to give enough detail for us to get an understanding of what you intend to do. Okay, it needs to be in future tense, obviously, because you haven't done it yet, even though you have, and it is 250 words maximum. So there's no need to push up to the maximum because, again, the point of this is to be really clear. So this is assessed separately, as you know, which is why you also get a separate draft date for the proposal. So moving along here, I've made some changes since our original document because you were saying that you really wanted to see an example of a high-level proposal, not just one that is okay. So I've tried to add detail, move some things around to show you exactly what I expect for a really high-level proposal. So layout-wise, we have proposal in nice big title. It's on its own page, and we've got really clear subheadings here. These do not count towards your word count. And the hypothesis is really clearly separated from the rest of the text. So it's indented, it's in italics and quotation marks. And you can read here, so I've got participants who are the younger sibling in their family will report a higher assertiveness score on a cognitions questionnaire than those who are an elder sibling. So from here, it is really clear what I'm investigating. It's not just participants who are oldest will be more assertive. It's really specific and outlines as well exactly what I'll be looking for. Now, this section here, the focus, this is about kind of looking from the outside in, what was the whole point of the investigation? So generally speaking, we're looking at assertiveness, right, which is why it's called assertiveness. But my study specifically here, I'm looking at family position. So I looked at the personal detail sheet and decided that I wanted to investigate whether being the oldest or youngest child makes you more or less assertive. So that's what I've got here. So we're talking about assertiveness, but more specifically, I'm investigating family position and whether that has an effect on assertiveness. Okay. Now, 2 Stage 2 psychology classes from this year will conduct the study to collect and analyze data on the effects of family position and how it influences assertive thoughts. Now, this is important here too. So because I'm using the cognitions questionnaire, I can't talk about assertiveness generally because being assertive is a behavior. So I'm talking specifically about cognitions, which are it's our thinking and our thought patterns and thought processing. So I've got here, this section here is really just a kind of a justification for my hypothesis. So I've got here, in order to stand up for their opinions and beliefs, particularly when communicating with older siblings, younger siblings may have learnt to think more assertively and confidently. So I've got here, I've explained the focus of the investigation and why the study was conducted. I've then briefly explained who the participants are, very briefly, and some basic theory behind the hypothesis. Now, it doesn't mean you need to investigate and go and do all this research because you know that that isn't assessed in this task. What you do need to do is just kind of provide some explanation as to why you're proposing what you are. Okay, so that's the focus section. The data source section here, what's really important is we get a crystal clear understanding of where your data is going to come from. So it doesn't have to go into the entire process of what was done on the day, but you do need to pinpoint for your particular hypothesis or question, what data are you using? So here I've got quantitative data will be obtained from a standardized subjective cognitions questionnaire. Okay, so some real buzzwords in here. I've got quantitative, I've got a subjective cognitions questionnaire, and it's also a standardized one. Okay, so you all answered the same one. It's a standardized one that's used across multiple sites. Okay, and I've said here this is completed by participants, or will be completed by participants who report being the oldest and youngest siblings. So obviously in this, I couldn't use everyone's data because some people were only children or middle children. So I'm going to only use data from those who are oldest or youngest, and youngest. And there's also no need for me to talk here about random allocation or groups or videos or anything because it's not relevant for my question. So you're only thinking about the data for your particular question. Where is that coming from? Okay, I've also got some prompts here for you about what kind of data you're collecting. Now I've got here, participants will answer a series of multiple choice scenarios on a 5-point frequency scale, each answer demonstrating a different level of assertive thinking. Again, that's really important, it's assertive thinking. The higher their score, the more assertive the participant is in their thinking. Right, so again, future tense, really concise. There's no words that could be taken out. It's really concise, to the point and clear. Okay, now data analysis. As I've got here, this is about how you're going to use the data. Like, how is this data then going to help you answer your hypothesis? Okay, so I've got here the mean assertiveness score from each group, so group being youngest or oldest, will be calculated to determine their measure of central tendency. Okay, so I've got mean, central tendency. These means will be presented in a bar graph to compare assertive thinking between the two groups. The standard deviation from each group will be calculated as a measure of variability. Now remember, you don't have to use the standard deviation, and presented in a table for comparison. And important to note here that we don't graph the standard deviation. Remember, we just put it in a table. Now this last part here is that point at the end. So your proposal can end with this sentence where you talk about, okay, well, if the hypothesis is supported, then what should the data look like? So I've got here, if the hypothesis is supported, then the mean assertive score will be higher for younger siblings than for older siblings. Okay. You then finish with your word count down the bottom, and again, that doesn't include subheadings or the heading at the top. Okay, so please don't copy or feel like this is a formula for your proposal. It's just a way, as I said, for you to outline what you're proposing that you're going to do and making sure that it's really clear and logical. If I had a different hypothesis, or if I was doing a qualitative, and so was using a focus group, my proposal might look really different. And some sections may be longer than others. So really tailor your proposal to your particular question or hypothesis and make sure that it is beautifully clear. Okay, good luck. I'm looking forward to reading them.